Hello, my name is Casper and I was involved with doing task B of the assignment, which was building the houses. So I had four main components to do, where the first one was building the exterior of the house, including the wall and the roof. And then two was using subdivision to create multiple rooms through a recursive algorithm. And then three was adding doors to each room to ensure that each room was connected and accessible. And then four was just adding furniture to each themed room. So now I'll be showing a demonstration how this looks like in game. Alright, so here is the completed village. Now as you can see, it has generated 4 houses and each house has a different room layout. So this is caused by the subdivision, as we can check. So as we enter, we are now entering the living room. Nice looking living room, and we can see that each uh, interior wall has a door at its midpoint. Access this one. We're now entering a bedroom, a kitchen, and then a bathroom. So you can see we have accessed all 4 themes, and each room is accessible through the algorithm, as well as each room being recursively divided to ensure that each room satisfies the requirement. So yeah, so that's pretty much the demonstration. And now I'll be showing how I implemented this through my ADT design. Alright, so moving on to the abstract data types I have designed is I have created a room class. Now the room class tracks the room's boundaries, including the origin and the bound, as well as setting a new theme to that room. So alongside that, I've created different furniture functions, including the furniture's location and add furnitures. So here I'm able to add furnitures to an existing room, as well as check furniture's location to prevent any overlap furniture from being placed. So with that, I've also created a room manager class. So the room manager class holds the rooms within a house. So pretty much through the subdivision algorithm, what I did was once a room has been validated to be created, it just gets added to the room manager class and the room's vector. So yeah, so that's pretty much how that one works. And lastly is the building class. Now the building class manages the house construction of the interior. So pretty much for the randomized sub generation of dividing the houses, what it does is it basically uses the RNG function, which randomly generates the rooms. As well with the place doors, what I did was I used a simple set pair which tracks different rooms that are connected and makes sure that if there is a door or not, to track how many doors will be placed. And then lastly is the themes, which is for once a room has been created, it just gets assigned to that theme, and then assigns to once it has assigned to all 4 themes, it just repeats. So yeah, so that's pretty much how that one works. And yeah, so now let's move on to testing. Right, so for testing, I have done a black box testing approach where I've done 8 different test cases, including 4 main ones and 4 edge cases. So each component had its own responsibility of doing that component of the task. So for that, I have created different input files and expected output files to test the difference and predict what the outcome will be. So yeah, so that's pretty much how I did that for testing. So for defensive programming aspects of my code is I validated each input at every point. So during the recursive subdivision algorithm, before it attempts to split, I try to meet the requirement of having a 4x4 in room dimension before creating any invalid rooms. So this helps me prevent from uh, creating any like tiny or large rooms towards the game and the output. And then the second example I have is in the decorate.cpp. In the add room lamps function, once furnitures have been placed in a room, pretty much what it does is it checks in that coordinates of the room whether a furniture exists, and then if a furniture does not exist, it would then create a room lamp. So for the structured programming side of my code is I organize my code into clear functions. So inside the build buildings function, which was the main house function, I organized it to have different responsibilities for each component. So I had a build exterior, which handled building the walls and the roof, as well with the original floor. And then the second one was the subdivide interior, which pretty much subdivides the room and creates the rooms and assigns them with a theme and floor. And then the third one was the placing doors, where I broken that down into two steps, where the first one was just using a place main entrance function, which just gets the main entrance coordinate and turns that into a door before placing a doors inside the interior. And then lastly is the decorating, where I did all the decorating into the decorate.cpp. What I first did is adding windows to the exterior of each room, and then lastly is just assigning the furniture. So for whatever room I called upon, I just assigned that furniture and placed them. So lastly, for programming by contract, I have applied that each function has behaved predictably as expected. So for example, in my place single door function, I check that the coordinates are valid and that the space is empty before placing a door. So these checks are my preconditions, and they make sure that the function only runs under that circumstance. So if that circumstance is correct, then the blocks will be placed. So here, the building.addDoor acts as my post condition to ensure that the door is recorded, so I don't accidentally duplicate that door again later. So pretty much this just helps me easily debug the code and ensure that it produces a consistent output each time.